You know, for over 11 years, Little Diva's balloon decorating has turned events into experiences, and celebrations have been turned into parties. Let Little Divas worry about making your event the best that it can be while you relax and enjoy it. Any event you can imagine: birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, family reunions, graduations, celebrations of life. Any event that you can possibly imagine, Little Divas can bring it to life. They specialize in balloon sculptures, cake table archways, and doorway arches. Get a hold of Little Divas right now and make your celebration, reunion, or business function one that people will never forget. Call 606-791-5616. That's 606-791-5616. Or visit them on Facebook.com/Little Diva Party Decorations and see for yourself. Of course, delivery is always available for a slight additional charge. Little Divas, it's where memories begin.
The following is a production of Slone Studios. You know the podcast. Now it's time for the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings, a unique look inside the world of the Mountain Mysteries. This is where you learn a little more about the Mountain Mysteries episodes and come together to talk. It can be intense, it can be goofy, but it's always fun and mostly always interesting, even if you're rewatching Chris make a fool out of himself. Viewer discretion is always advised.
It's all about love and connection. You know who that sounds like?
Yeah, I do.
It's kind of a little bit shocking.
And I could see a figure, an outline, and it stood right there at my door and wouldn't come through.
Hey, this is Stacia Underwood Gullett.
I'm Josh Preston.
This is Amanda Collins.
I'm Dave Newsom, and I'm listening to these Mountain Mysteries.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I will be the last to fall. I won't shed a tear for them to see. And I won't have your name to call. 'Cause I will be the last to fall.
With over 24% of the 1.9 billion square acres in America alone, the mountains that so many people call home are also host to some of the most incredible mysteries in the world. The missing, the murdered, strange creatures, unexplained lights, and sightings of unidentified objects. These stories may be strange, they may be sad, they may be odd, but they are mysterious. These are the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings. And now, live from the Pantry Studio, broadcast to all time zones around the world, with listeners of the podcast in the United States, Canada, Germany, Norway, India, the United Kingdom, and more. These are the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings. Now, your host, Chris Slone.
I would say that I hope that you all have had a great week. But somehow I just don't think that's the case. So I guess the best I can do is hope to make it a little more bearable. We are going to talk about a few different things this evening. It wouldn't be the gatherings unless we did talk about the episode that just dropped on Junko Furuto. I'm sure a lot of you have had a chance to hear it by now. Some maybe have not. Listen to it when you can. And I always welcome feedback. Constructive criticism. My ego checked the door March 5th of 2021 when this thing aired, because it's not about me. It's about the stories that we tell. It's about the people that we talk about. I will rarely refer to them as cases, because people are not cases. They're so much more than that, don't you think? People are complex creatures. At times we're vain, at times we're egotistical, but at times we're very loving and caring. I once said, the more I get to know some people, the more I love dogs. That's not entirely true, but you get the idea. We're going to talk about one such dog, and I use that term very loosely tonight because this particular dog was a hero. And so were the three men that gave their lives. In defense and protection and doing nothing more than performing their sworn duty, and they did it right. And I'm going to address some things that I've read on social media, which I'm going to be honest with you, I pretty much use Facebook as a promotional thing. I love it when people say, "Oh, well, did you hear about this? It has to be true. It was on Facebook." Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Just like I remember all the crap that happened with Lord of the Rings. That had to have been true. Or with Top Gun Maverick. Well, parts of that may have been true because Tom Cruise can fly. But you get the idea. You don't believe everything that you read. Joining me this evening, of course, is my very dear, sweet friend, Stacia Underwood Gullett. And let me see if I can actually adjust that thing towards it should be, towards I like it. Hello, dear.
Good evening.
Good evening. It has been a hell of a week for everybody, but I have got to
Yeah.
say, I was so thankful, grateful, and impressed by the outpouring of support that this county has had, not only from our neighbors in Johnson, Magoffin, Pike, and other counties, but do you know, if you come to a Canine Drago's memorial service tomorrow, you're going to hear from a law enforcement officer named Justin Shimshak. He is a brother to me. I love this guy. There's nothing I wouldn't do for him or his kids or his family. And that includes these law enforcement officers. But, anyways, this evening I had a chance to speak with Justin. We got together for a few minutes before I, went live. And you'll hear from him tomorrow. And you're going to hear stories about Drago, a few. But I'm telling you, there's so much more. I heard the Drago referred to as a dog, a canine, a fur missile, and he was. My God, he was. But to me, he was a friend, and he was a hero. Just like the cops I know and the first responders I know, they're heroes, every single one of them. Do you realize that on June 30th, we lost 4 officers? But there was also wounded officers. There were people that put themselves in the line of danger again. Several got hurt. And from what I understand, thankfully, some are making recovery. For me to say they're going to be okay, I don't think anybody's going to be okay after that hell. I have friends that were in that, and I had friends that were in that. And everybody wants to know who this guy and his wife were. Well, I know who they were. I know who his wife is, and I'm not going to divulge any information out of respect to her, but I can tell you she had nothing to do with this. She was a victim. She's a survivor. But him, hell's not good enough for him.
You read my mind.
So I dug up a little bit of public information on this thing. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But first, I went live on Facebook the other day without the benefit of this studio because this studio gives me, for whatever reason, some kind of a comfort. It's like a hand of God thing. So, but being live just strictly on Facebook, and you guys that do that all the time, God bless you. Really, you're awesome. Maybe we can make a spot for you at Slone Studios because when you do that, I was sitting there going, we live? Yeah, okay, we're live. See, like right up here on my dashboard, I can see you are currently live streaming across 8 platforms. This number of viewers and this, et cetera, this kind of thing. So I've got a pretty good idea. Well, it's working anyways. You ain't got that on Facebook. Or at least if you do, I didn't find it. Maybe you do. William Petrie, deputy, retired Kentucky State Trooper, retired Kentucky State Police PAO, which means Public Affairs Officer. I had a few encounters with Deputy Petrie. 2 words come to mind: class act, and also no nonsense. Now, don't get me wrong, my encounters were never on the wrong side of things. I manage a small apartment complex, and we had put on this summer feeding program for children because the Floyd County school systems were kind enough, and with their thoughtfulness, along with other people, said, you know what? Some kids in our county may be a little hungry around lunch and not really have the resources. So they would pull up in here with a big old number 9 bus. I mean, the thing was huge. And they said, where can we park it? I said, where y'all got space? Just go ahead and knock yourselves out. It'll be fine and dandy. So they found a place to park it. And kids would come and get their sandwiches. But before all that happened, I was contacted by an organization. They said, you know, we would really like to do something special to kick this off. Do you have any ideas? And I thought, well, I'm not a game planner. I'm not this or that. Wait a minute. This is an opportunity knocking. So I contacted Post 9 in Pikeville. Best group of people, some of the best people you'd ever want to talk to. Their troopers are great. Their administration is fantastic. Just good people. And they said, yeah, we can do something like that, because my goal was to show the kids that our troopers, our deputies, our police officers are resources. They're our friends. They're here to literally protect and serve people. That's what they do. And for those that would disagree, I'd ask, what'd you do to find yourself on the wrong side of things? Listen, I've got speeding tickets before, but guess what? Whose fault was that? Mine. So anyways, Trooper Petrie steps out of his cruiser, and I'm like, wow, snazzy uniform. And he just presented himself in such a professional manner. And he was great with those kids. Lord, they loved him. They fell in love with this guy. He showed them, you ain't got nothing to be afraid of me. You ain't got no reason to be afraid of me. Come and ask me anything. If you need help, I'll be there to help you. He said, so will my brothers and sisters in gray. Wow. You should have seen the look and their demeanor change. These kids, I thought he was going to have these kids hanging off of him. The Oxford Volunteer Fire Department shows up in that big fire engine. That thing is massive. It's awesome. I mean, as a grown adult, I'm sitting there going, wow. And then, of course, the Floyd County Sheriff's Department. And guess who represented the Floyd County Sheriff's Department? Well, that would be Justin Shimshak and K9 Officer Drago. Funny story here. I asked Justin, I said, is there any way that you've got any seized narcotics in your vehicle, or that you can go get some and maybe give a demonstration of exactly what Drago can do? Justin said, yeah, I think I can help you out. So he goes and he comes back. And I guess that they do whatever procedure they had to do. He had to sign it out and talk to the sheriff and say, well, here's what we're doing. And it was just a very little bit, but what it was pot. And I said, where are you going to put that at? And I'm sitting there thinking, you're going to stick that under my car. He put it under Petrie's cruiser. Then he goes in and he gets Drago out. And Drago, and he says this command, pats Drago, and you see Drago's demeanor completely change. He goes from happy pup to, oh, shit just got real. You see those ears. And I'm like, he takes that stance. And I'm like, I'm going to go be someplace else. So I woke up there by Trooper Petrie and the firefighters. Drago, within, I think it was 30 or 45 seconds, sniffs around the cruiser, bam, sits, and his nose points right to it. Now, keep in mind when Justin did that, Drago was inside. And right there, I thought, that is the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. I've just witnessed something incredible. That's what Drago did every day. But it wasn't just that. That dog literally was a fur missile. He would take down suspects, which would turn out to be the perpetrators of crimes, people on the run trying to get away. He'd take them down. He'd find them. Did that several times. The dog, K9 Drago, excuse me, and William Petrie, courageous. Their last acts showed that. Then we had Captain Ralph Frazier. He was also a public resource officer or a school resource officer for Prestonsburg High School. At the services, which I was not able to attend, and I will probably live the rest of my life regretting that. But I did view them. I heard our mayor, Les Stapleton, who is, again, one of the finest people I've ever met. I've known Les for years. Tell the story about how Ralph decided that he wanted to be, Stace, the school resource officer. Now, Ralph was a smoker. He liked to smoke. That was his thing. I like that smokeless chew stuff. I like that. That's my thing. But apparently he walks into the office of the mayor one day and he said, Les, can I talk to you for a few minutes? Les said, yeah, Ralph, what's up? He said, I want to be the Prestonsburg High School resource officer. And Les looks at him and he says, Ralph, that's a no smoking building. Ralph, yeah, I know. Well, Ralph quit smoking so he could be there for those kids. And they were his kids too.
Oh, they loved him.
They were crazy about him. They loved him. What wasn't to love? He would eat lunch with some of them. Walk down the hall arm in arm with some of them. Always there for any of them. Meet them at the door in the mornings when they come in. Hey, how y'all doing? They said he'd be sitting down there at the Prestonsburg Fire Department in the morning having maybe a cup of coffee, burning one, well, before he quit smoking. Or he'd get rid of the cigarette or whatever it was. He'd have his coffee and he'd say, well, let's go check on our kids. Let's go check on my kids. And he'd go. And he's there. They were safe with him. And they all knew it. And anybody that came into that school trying to do something stupid knew it. Because Captain Frazier did not take kindly to such things. Those children's lives meant more than his own to him. He left behind a beautiful family. So did William Petrie. Captain Frazier left behind grandchildren. And I'm assuming so did Officer Petrie. Then we had Jacob Chaffins. Young man, served his country, and what he wanted to do was be a first responder, so he was a firefighter for a while. Then he went in to being a police officer, and a damn good one. Left behind a beautiful little girl. Beautiful. And a wife, a mother, a family. Now, some of you that watched this program before, this thing, whatever you want to call it, have heard me talk about the pebble in a pond effect. One life, ripples, changes. These men were boulders. Drago was a boulder. the lives they changed, the lives they saved. Ralph wasn't so much about doing the legalities as he was about doing what was right. And he did his job right. But he was a man that believed in what was right. I can say that of all of these officers. I can say that of every officer I know. Now, there's a lot of what the Marine Corps calls scuttlebutt, which is rumors and innuendos going around about whether or not some people will return. I've got a feeling that they will. Are they going to have to reload and rebuild? Yeah. Did we take a hit? We took a hit from hell, not just in the experiences that Deputy Petrie and Captain Frazier brought to the table, because these men were very well versed, incredibly courageous, and very well educated in how to handle things. What they came up on June 30th was nothing more than an ambush by a cowardly piece of crap. That's what they came upon. It was an ambush, plain and simple. And it cost 4 officers their lives. But in the meantime, after the fact, I saw something that was incredible. We started getting posts from the New York Police Department, from Los Angeles County Sheriffs, Los Angeles LAPD. They knew Prestonsburg. They knew we were hurting. You realize that we had response from agencies all across the Commonwealth that evening? Not only, but thankfully, the Kentucky State Police, Magoffin County Sheriff's Department, Ashland, Boyd County. Hell, that's an hour and a half away from where this happened. And here they come with lights on, Mach 3, and hair on fire. I know, because Justin was one of them. He told his chief, I'm going to Prestonsburg. I'm going to Allen. What's going on? He told him, he said, hell, I'm going with you. Whole damn department. Here they come. Morgan County. Like I said, Pike County, Pikeville. They all came. They came from places. I've seen cruisers down here from Rockcastle County. And if this ever gets out to any of them, I can only say thank you. You're all heroes. You screw with one, you screw with all of them. And I've never worn a badge in my life. Nothing will give me more pride. These people, and be it men, be it women, be it canine officers, they're officers and they're sworn and they're called to a duty. Everybody else is running like crazy away from it. They're running like crazy into it. It's not that they got a death wish. They've got families. They want to go home. They want to have dinner. They want to hug their wives, see their kids or their girlfriends. Whatever the case is, they want to see their families again. I was so honored once to be asked to speak in front of a Kentucky State Police Citizens Academy, the second one I think they had. And I'll never forget how it started off, because I think it's true to this day. When these men and women are out here protecting your family, who's protecting yours? Or, when they're protecting your family, who's protecting theirs? When they are out there protecting your family, who is at home watching theirs? See, it's not just the officers and the troopers that make the sacrifice. It's their mothers and fathers. It's their wives, their children, their friends, their best friends. There is a certain camaraderie that I guess it was really well phrased when they called it a band of brothers. Law enforcement, it's a band of brothers and sisters. because when one comes, they all come, especially in something like this. I'd read somewhere states that this was classified as one of the worst police or shooting tragedies in 100 years or close to 100 years.
Wow.
I think the last word, the one that was close to as bad, or maybe worse. I'm not sure. Sorry, I've not done research on that. What happened in Eddyville in 2000 or 1924, 29, something like that. But
Wow.
it was a prison riot. Well, maybe Mister Stores can figure out what Eddyville's all about because that's where they send the death row inmates. Last I understand. Now, our Floyd County Attorney Keith Bartley, and I swear that man will have my vote until the day I die because he called it like he saw it. If there ain't a special place in hell for him, there should be for Stores. But Keith called it exactly like he saw it, and I could not agree 100% more.
Absolutely.
But he had said that it's up to the Commonwealth's attorney to seek the death penalty. Well, we hope that the
Yeah.
Commonwealth's attorney will seek the death
Yeah.
penalty. Probably find out more sometime next week. I think Stores is scheduled to stand, or to whatever it is that starts is supposed to start on the 11th. So I understand. But let me tell you a little bit about him. He's 49 years old. Stores. We're talking about Lance Stores. He's accused of shooting 3 law enforcement officers and a police K-9 to death on the evening of June 30th, 2022. 5 other police officers and an emergency management director were wounded. Gary Wolf. May God be with him. We hope that he makes. We hope that he's able to come home soon and be with his family. According to Floyd County Sheriff John Hunt, the shooting was planned. Officers encountered pure hell when they arrived, and they had no chance. Couldn't even defend themselves. They were trying to talk to this guy. And this pathetic bastard opens fire.
Oh, gosh.
Stores had previous ties to Florida, Washington State, and Oregon. Yeah, I owned some kind of a trucking thing called Owner at Underworld, or that's what he said on his LinkedIn thing, whatever it was. Appeared to be a trucking company, anyways. Here's where it gets good. His full name's Lance Preston Stores. He had addresses in Florida, Washington State, and Oregon. Old criminal case in Volusia County, Florida. Listen to this. For trying to take out a migrating bird with a shotgun, according to online records there. And it gets better. Hang on. A woman filed an emergency order for child pickup against him in that state. The same woman filed an injunction for protection against him in 2008 in that county. In 1997, a complaint for eviction and damages was filed against him in that county. Now, Stores had a couple of bankruptcies. That don't make a person a criminal.
Mm-mm.
And a lot of people I know have had bankruptcies. Great people, they just hard times. But what I'm going here leads to motive, or tends to lead to motive. The most recent bankruptcy showed he had liabilities of more than $400,000 and $2,600 in assets. He's accused of using a rifle, but Floyd County Attorney Keith Bartley said that he used multiple weapons, different calibers. Absolutely. There's no question it was a mass shooting. And according to John Hunt, Floyd County Sheriff John Hunt, and Floyd County Attorney Keith Bartley, this place was a war zone. I remember Keith saying it was like, or no, let me rephrase that. To be as accurate as it possibly can be, it was like a hail of bullets, a storm of bullets raining down on them. It's like a war zone. That is a war zone. What else do you call it? He said there was lots of ammunition, including all kinds of caliber weapons found, small caliber, some large, some shooting at extreme velocities, very quick shooting. An officer had hid under a car for hours to avoid being shot, and through that suffered from carbon monoxide poisoning. It's my understanding that the officer is making recovery. And I certainly hope that that's the case and that he is back home with his family as quickly as possible. I'm not going to mention names on this one, but I'm sorry I'm having to do a couple of things at one time. You guys know how this goes. But I had spoken to one duly sworn officer of the law who felt he was suffering survivor's guilt because this individual was there. And my guess is he is not the only one. I would say this to any police officer. My apologies for this. Suffering from survivor's guilt, don't. I know it's so much easier to say than do, but don't. Now more than ever, we need you. Your brothers need you. Your sisters need you. We love you. Yes, I said it. We love you. We respect you. You are heroes. Every time you strap that uniform on, you're putting a target on yourself. And, there's even times when you're not putting that uniform on, you're a target because somebody somewhere knows Trooper John Doe or Trooper Jane Smith or Deputy so and so or police officer or patrolman so and so. Every time you pull over a car, I'm not telling any law enforcement officer a thing they don't know. See, I got to experience some of that in this Citizens Police Academy class. I learned what the funnel or the tunnel of death was, and I got hit with a water pistol. But they showed me just how easy it is to get dead, what they go through. And I actually went on some ride alongs. I was privileged. To me, that's a proud moment. And I saw what they go through. I tell you what, any law enforcement agency needs is about 24 fully staffed, full time therapists, and at least 3 times more of the officers that they've got. At least, maybe 4. Every one of them needs body armor, head to toe, and they need the tools to do the job. Got into a little bit of a scuff the other day with a fella. So, well, those guns killed those cops. I believe my exact words were dumbass. People, a man killed those cops. I have got guns in my home. They've never killed a soul. They've never killed a soul. I know friends that have guns. They've never killed anybody. It's not the gun, it's the people behind the gun.
Yep.
That's what you got to watch. Gun. Oh, well, this cup of water made me wet. Yeah, it will if I dump it on my head. What has the world come to? We talked about our fallen. Officer Chafin's funeral was held today. Yesterday was Captain Fraser's. Before that, the day before that, was Deputy Petrie's. I really sometimes I still get mixed up with, was he a deputy? Was he? I just call it, everybody called him Petrie. Everybody called him Petrie. Drago, I call Drago. I call Drago a hero. I loved him. I can remember Drago coming up to me, and he actually allowed me to pet him, which I thought was a big no-no, and just said, "No, it's okay. He's not on duty. It's." And I'd pet him, and I fell in love with him. I had never met a soul so pure, so wanting to give everything he had, and he did. His handlers have to be feeling it. Dusty, Justin. Justin, I believe, was his first handler. Took him to get trained in Arkansas. And man, did he set the bar. He set the bar so high, I'm not sure no other canine officer will ever be able to reach that around here or anywhere else for that matter. Now, I know you're thinking, well, you're hurt, you're sad. This is hero worship. This is hero talk. No, I'm telling you the truth. Drago was constantly in the paper for taking drugs off the street, running down people on the run, People that were saying, "Oh, they'll never be found." 10 minutes later, yep, Drago got them. Drago didn't care about newspapers. He didn't care about spotlights, headlines, TV interviews. But what he did care about was his officers. He cared about the people that he was going to protect. And if you ever saw him around kids, they were in the mix, badge or not. That was Drago. There will be a memorial service for him tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the Mountain Arts Center. Whether or not it's going to be televised on Facebook, I do not know. If I can do it myself, I will put it on my Facebook, but I have to have permission from the Floyd County Sheriff's Department and his handlers, which I believe now are Dusty Newsom. Justin Shimshak was his first. But he is an officer. All K9 officers are officers and should always be treated as such. Because trust me, you don't want to get on their bad side. Oh, that's a mistake. But if you've not done anything wrong, you've got absolutely nothing to fear. And when they're on duty, no, you're not supposed to pet them. And right there on most of their vests, it says do not pet. That doesn't mean you can't respect them, though. And that doesn't mean you can't thank their handler. Thank you for your service and for your canine service. They do a lot, to be quite honest with you. Even in this time, Stace, I think that even in our grief, the pain we feel, the anger we feel, because right now I'm back and forth. I don't know whether to be pissed or cry. But I still realize how blessed we are. And I don't know if anybody else out here watching this that lives around here locally, but did anybody else happen to notice that right after Deputy Petrie's services, the skies opened up? And right after Captain Fraser's services, the skies opened up. And the way the skies were today with Officer Chaffins. Let me tell you something, and I will not speak for my Lord and Savior. But I just have a feeling, and in my opinion, God is not happy at all. This was not God's plan. God is upset. I do believe that. Because when people ask me, or I've only had one ask me, well, where was God when this happened? I said he was right there with them. I honestly believe that God holds a special place in his heart for law enforcement officials, firefighters, first responders, people who help others so selflessly. What is it, the verse? And I'm sorry I don't have it written down, or I'd read it verbatim. And I'm not adding or taking away anything from the Bible. That's not my intent. But there's a verse in there that says, "For no greater love haveth he that lays down his life for his friends." Something along that lines, I believe. I'm sure that there's people out there that could school me in that, and I'm welcoming that in the chat rooms, which I've not checked our chat rooms yet, which I'm getting ready to look here in a moment. But I'm asking anybody that can to come out to Drago's memorial service tomorrow and meet some of these law enforcement officers and show them your support. Show them that you stand behind them. The simple fact of the matter is, I remember some years ago, one of our officers had been killed in the line of duty. And I'm sitting out on the back deck with my dad, rest his soul. And I said, well, Dad, looks like evil's come to Eastern Kentucky. And Dad laughed. But it was a cynical laugh. I said, what's so funny about that? He said, not a damn thing, son. He said, ain't nothing funny about it. He said, what you're not getting is, he said, apparently, he said, I don't see how or why, but you're not getting that evil's always been here. It's always been here. But there's something it's not counting on. Now, keep in mind, my dad, a Vietnam vet, exactly was not the most religious individual I'd ever spoken with. But I said, what's that? He said, Well, God. And I said, God? He said, yeah, God. He said, son, look, he said, nothing is more powerful than the Lord. Nothing's more powerful than God. He said, but what we got here is a failure to communicate. I said, a failure to communicate. He said, yeah, he's a failure to communicate. He said, God's talking to us. All you got to do is look around and see it. But there ain't nobody talking back to him. And how long are you going to wait before you eventually say, well, okay, then? He said, it's time we all come together under God. One nation under God. He said, and if not one nation, he said, I can't speak for everybody else. He said, but this house is. It's time we all come together. We lift these officers that have gone on to be with our Lord. We lift them and their families in prayer. We lift our officers that are serving right now in prayer. Not today, but every day. Every day. If there is a day on the calendar and a grain of sand that passes through the hourglass, there is somebody out there protecting you and yours. There is somebody out there, God forbid, if somebody's house catches on fire, there is a crew of individuals that are coming to help you. Heaven forbid somebody's sick. There's going to be an EMT or EMTs and ambulance personnel. There's going to be doctors. There's going to be people there to help. And they are doing this because let me tell you something. I know what the average starting salary of a cop is in Kentucky, and I know what it is in Los Angeles, and it ain't enough. But they do it anyway. Like I said, it's a calling.
Exactly.
Let's take Ralph Frazier, for example. All the good, all the lives he touched. And I can say the same thing about Will Petrie, and I can say the same thing about Jacob Chaffins. I can say the same thing about Drago. All the lives they touched, all the good they did. We'll never know because it's beyond our comprehension. The lives that they've touched, those lives touch other lives. Those lives go on. You see, it multiplies exponentially. It goes on and on and on forever. It just goes. So let me ask you something, Stores. Do you want to know how bad you hurt us? Bad. You want to know how angry the people in this community are? I think you're about to find out. I hope. But do you want to know who will heal us? God. And not you or anybody else walking this earth or any other realm is stronger than God. Is stronger than the blood of Christ. Call him what you will. Some people call him Buddha. Some people call him any number of things, whatever it is. As he said, he has many names, but he is one. I think it's time that we asked him to take us and then let him work through us. How do you let God work through you? Well, let's see here. Ask him. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. See, God doesn't work on spells. And let me give you another thing. He's not looking for slaves. He's looking for friends. He's looking for his children to love him as much as he loves us, even though I don't think that that's humanly possible for us to love like that. But we get a glimpse of it every time we see a newborn child or every time we hold a newborn that's ours. That kind of love. I know I had it when I held Allie for the first time. I cried. I cried like a 6-year-old. And I felt so insignificant. But yet, here I am, to quote Morgan Earp, this tiny little speck in a bunch of nothing. Or no, I'm sorry, this tiny little speck in a bunch of everything, end quote. And yet he still remembered me. It ain't just me he remembered. Everybody watching this right now, he knows you. So ask him to work through you and stand up against what is wrong. And you don't have to put no big ass on your chest and be a red cape. Just be a good person. Pay a kind word to somebody. For all you know, they're right there on the edge of ending their own life. And maybe that kind word will stop them. Stace, we grew up, what, in the 70s and 80s?
Yep.
For those of us, or for those folks listening or watching right now, whatever the case may be, let's talk very briefly, very, very briefly about this. Was this world anything like this then?
No. It's
If
completely
somebody
different.
had come to you, let's say your senior year in high school, and said, Stacy Underwood, would you believe it if I told you that this is going to happen? And just as this, I'm going to say, let's start with the Twin Towers. And then let's move on to all of the law enforcement officers getting gunned down. Let's move on to all of everything else going on, including our fallen officers. Church scandals? Sure, the church has scandals. Absolutely. I'm not going to run that. I'm not going to deny that. And it's not just the Catholic Church. It's
No.
churches have scandals. Some of those are nonsense. Some of them are bullcrap from people looking for a quick, easy payday. Some of it's not. That's Jesus told us in the last days. Beware of false prophets. There will be people who love themselves, people who love money more than seeking out God, people who love themselves more than they love God, people who love pleasure more than they love God in the last days. Now, when somebody comes in and talks to me, whether I'm, at a restaurant or whether I'm wherever, because keep in mind, I'm not a preacher, never will be. No, that's not me. All I'm saying is, I feel it, I know it, I sense it. They say, I can't believe this is happening. Why not? Well, well, look at this. It wasn't this way when I was growing up. It was, well, no, of course not. It wasn't this way when you were growing up. But I mean, this is what I'm going to say about 2,000 years ago, give or take, maybe a decade or two. Jesus told us this was going to happen. Been right there in the book all this time. It's called Revelation. And there's other. Read the Gospels. Have I ever read the whole Bible? No. I am sorry. I am what you call a picky reader. I pick the selections I like or that I want. But for some reason, Revelations, even though it is scary, Revelations has always appealed to me. That's what my mama used to say. She said, you want to be a good man? Read the Bible. It will scare the hell out of you. Well, I guess it worked. Took hand. Because let me tell you something. I would much rather hear Christ say to me, welcome, my good and faithful servant, than depart from me. I know ye not.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what is going on right now. And don't get me wrong, the Mountain Mysteries gatherings and all this other stuff, you notice the logo is not up there tonight. This isn't the Mountain Mysteries. This is Chris and Stace. Or Stace and Chris. I'll give you top billing, dear. This is whatever, because for me, this is about honoring heroes.
That's right.
And the reason I'm talking about this is because we are honoring what they stood for: morals, respect, dignity, compassion, love, justice, equality, fairness. That's what these four officers were about. And
Well
people
said.
would get pissed off and they would get upset. Well, Petrie pulled me over one time and gave me a ticket. How the hell did I get out of this? Oh, well, that's simple. Don't do it again. Don't do what? Speed. Don't do 60 in a 45. Have I ever got a speeding ticket? Let me think about it. Yes. Any trooper or sheriff's deputy, be it here, Lawrence County, Johnson County, wherever, a few of them were gracious enough and kind enough to let me go because I've always told them the truth. I remember one time there was this cop in Painesville, and he was notorious. I'm not going to mention his name. You probably know who I'm talking about, though. He was notorious. He'd write a ticket for his own mother. So I'm sitting down there by where Peebles used to be, and I do what's called an improper takeoff.
Oh, no.
Turn the tires over. Well, I had to do that, or I thought I was going to have to get out and push the son bitch to make it go anywhere. Seriously, it wouldn't pull a wet hair out of a greasy cat's butt. But anyways, somehow or another, I got it to, and I look up there, and there he sits, and I swear he went. Big smile. And I said, well, outrunning him's out of the question. So, of course, he pulls out, he hits his lights, and I pull over. He said, you care to tell me exactly what was going on back there? And I said, and I always do this. Do what law enforcement tells you. Keep your hands on the wheel, fine, whatever. But I've always put my hands out the window to let them know I'm not armed. You're not going to have any trouble out of me. Please don't shoot me. I would really like to get a burger. So it's or something like that. He walks up and he says, will you mind to tell me what was going on back there? I said, showing off. What? I said, I was showing off. So I was hoping to get the attention of some girl or something. Let me see your driver's license and your insurance. Okay. Insurance is in the glove box. With you're okay. If it's okay, I'm going to reach over and get that for you. He said, yeah, go ahead. So I did so, and I gave it to him. Comes back a few minutes later, and it's about 5 minutes, and of course, it's all but guaranteed I'm getting a ticket. Lucky I ain't going to jail because this guy was. So, anyways, he comes back. He says, "Don't ever do that in front of me again. Don't ever do that again. Better yet." I said, "Where's my citation?" He said, "I'm not giving you one." He said, "Look," he said, "you cannot imagine how many times I hear, oh, my foot slipped. My cat was in the floorboard. It's under the seat now, and I don't want to get it out. The car almost died, and I gave it too much gas." He said, it goes on and on. He said, "You told me the truth." I learned something from that. Be honest. And even if you get a ticket, it feels damn good to look at them and say, yep, I know how fast I was going. I was taking my parents' cremains to Florida to Bushnell Military Cemetery. I was in a 2019 red Hyundai Elantra. Anybody that's got one or has ridden in one knows they can be quite little zippy cars. They move quickly. I'm running down I-75, almost. I'm in Valdosta, almost in Florida. 89 and a 70. And on the off ramp, I see this black and white with lights lit up. Well, I just pulled over at the rest stop, which was 3/4 of a mile up the road. Because by that time, he was all over me like a pissant on a popsicle stick. And I'll never forget his first name. It was Chris. So I pulled in, rolled down the windows, rolled down the back windows too. It was a sedan, little 4-door. Stuck my hands out. He said, "Need your driver's license and your proof of insurance." I said, "Sir, yes, sir." I said, "Driver's license." And I already had that stuff out because he took a second to. Took him back to the car. He came back with a uniform citation. He said, "Do you realize how quick you're going?" I said, "I think it was 89. Yeah, it was 89. He said, "If you want to come back here," I said, "No need to. I believe you." I said, "I'm sure you got better things to do than deal with people like me." And he looked in my back seat and he saw 2 little black boxes. He said, "What's in the boxes?" I said, "My mommy and my daddy." He saw this look on his face. And he held his head down. And he looked back at me. He said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "If I'd known," he said, "I would have wrote you a warning." And I said, "No, sir." And I explained to him that my daddy taught me when you do wrong and you know you do wrong, then you own it. I knew I was doing wrong. I was 19 over the limit. I was almost at 90. Speed limit was 70. And he was kind enough to write me at 76. He said, "I wish I could take it back, but everything's computer now." An officer can be in his cruiser and look on his laptop and look at your license plate number and know if you've got insurance. What kind of insurance? Know if your car's been registered, taxes paid, and all that stuff. But I'll never forget his kindness. And I told him, "I'm grateful for your service, sir." And I'll never forget what he said. He said, "I can't wait to tell my wife about this." I said, "A speeding ticket?" He said, and as he was walking away, he said that there are good people left in the world. even if you got to pay, but be honest. Don't ever treat an officer like they're an idiot and they don't know the answer. There's a creed in most law schools that says never ask a question you already don't know the answer to. Police officers are very much the same way. They're very intelligent people. They're not going to ask you a question unless they already know the answer in most cases, especially when it comes to something like a traffic citation. We lost 4 good officers, 4 brilliant officers this week. One of them was the future of policing in Prestonsburg. And who knows where he would have went? Maybe Kentucky State Police. Hell, maybe the FBI, maybe U.S. Marshals. One of my best friends from grade school is a U.S. Marshal now. Mad respect for him. Just like I have for everybody that wears the badge. You don't want to do the crime, you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. Tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. at the Mountain Arts Center in Prestonsburg, there will be a memorial service for Canine Drago, 2016, end of watch, June 30, 2022. I wish you could have seen him like I did. How he'd look at me and just, you do this, and he'd do that. And you do that, and he'd do this. You could never get one up on him. And yes, Dusty was right. He's the king of the couch, and he liked to sleep in the bed, so Justin told me. So he said, he gets in the bed, man. He said, give it up, go to the couch. We lost 4 incredible people this week. And none of us individually can do anything about it. But collectively, with the leadership that this town has in Les Stapleton and John Hunt and Randy Woods, the chief of police in Prestonsburg, who is an outstanding guy. Love Randy to death. And in Keith Bartley, our county attorney. And with God guiding us, I'd ask that you pray with us. Heavenly Father, we come before you with broken hearts. And we ask for your guidance, your strength, and your love. And we ask that you send only the comfort that you could to the families of these fallen officers and to all of us. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
Amen.
As you can imagine, we will not be using, the program has definitely been different than what it usually is. We will be back to the Mountain Mysteries gatherings next week, but I could not let this go. And I do want to let you know that I am going to try to contact our mayor, our sheriff, and our police chief, and our county attorney, and maybe put on a celebration of life like we did for April
Absolutely.
for these 4 officers at Archer Park. I would like to do that. Any money that we raise will go to the families, and it will be divided evenly among them and the Floyd County Canine Program for canine law enforcement. And I've been saying and threatening this all night. I check this thing. Our yeah, a lot of people in the chat room tonight, and I thank every single one of you. And know that, guys, I love y'all. Thank you so much for being here. We had a young lady, Christy, said that she thinks that WSAZ is going to stream Drago's memorial service. You know, that's something else I gotta get off my chest real quick before I let you guys go. Is that somebody had the audacity, and they didn't say it to me directly. I just happened to overhear it. Well, I don't know why everybody's so upset. He's just a dog. You son of a bitch. Almost got into a fight over that one. But he got the point real quick. Because I wasn't the only one that made upset. I told Justin tonight, my brother, one of my best friends. I said, I said, I don't know that you know, and you have much of an idea how many people love Draco. I think he does, though. because Justin sure did. And man, you hear people say, I'm your ride or die. Drago was Justin's ride or die, and Justin was Drago's. Those two went together like peaches and cream. And I'm sure that Drago and Dusty did too. And my heart goes out to you, Dusty. It goes out to every officer out there and to the families of those that we've lost. But, anyways, I'll let you know more about this. We're looking at possibly doing this in September with the mayor's kind permission and the sheriff and our police chief, Randy Woods, and our county attorney, Keith Bartley. All great people. And you cannot begin. Support them too, folks. Please support them too. They need it just as much. In all the years I've known Les, I don't think I've ever seen his eyes like that. Or Keith's, Randy's, John's. Even in the midst of hell and death, we are surrounded by angels. Remember that. Stace, I love you. And thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are part of this. You're family, girl. We love you.
Love you.
Good night, sweetheart.
Good night.
So I will leave you with these thoughts. That even in the midst of the hell, we are surrounded by angels. Tonight, kiss your kids. Maybe a little more. Hug them a little tighter. Tell that special somebody that you love them. Maybe a little deeper. Maybe more often share that kind word with somebody. And be there for their families. Be there for their friends. Be there for your friends. Be there for your family. I hope in some small way tonight we've managed to do some justice. Captain Ralph Frazier, Deputy William Petrie, Patrolman Officer Jacob Chaffins, K9 Drago, forever in our hearts, forever in our minds, and forever in our very souls. We love you. I'm Chris Slone. I hope that you'll hold on long enough, as things will get better. And remember, we've got angels around us. And God never leaves us. He never forsakes us. May God bless you and your family. Good night, my friends.